This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Well, good day, everybody, and welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Friday, January the 27th, 2023. We're glad that you can join us. And as you can see, I am back from Brazil, and we've got so much video and so many stories to tell you from my trip to that country. In fact, I have spent nothing but 2 days just trying to offload and organize some of this. So be patient with me as I go through all of the content we have gotten here for you, but it'll start showing up at iowaagnet.com. We want to thank the folks at Comstock Investments for inviting us along again on that trip. Coming up later on in this program, I'm going to talk with Iowa Secretary Mike Naig, who says it may be a quiet year for agriculture in the State House. We'll talk about why he says that and what he does expect to get done. But first, let's run down the markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. We're at the end of another trading day and end of the week, actually, and we turn to Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. And Jacob, what did we see out there?
Oh, well, today was kind of a reversal of what we saw yesterday, especially in the bean trade. So a lot of technical resistance up to where we went yesterday, soybean-wise. But the major theme of the day was a lot of different spread activity. You saw bull spreads get increased in the corn side of things, and you saw the bear spreads take a hold in the beans. And what we're meaning by that is just watching the front months of soybeans fall off, while the back months actually stayed pretty strong. Actually, new crop was only down 0.25% here at the close. In the corn market was just kind of the opposite, 3 cents lower in the front months, and we're actually going to be probably closing about a penny higher in the March. So a lot of different spread activity. Sometimes when you see spread activity, it's just you're seeing these funds and different speculative traders position around for things. You can blame a lot of this on some weather reports. You can blame it on some of the Ukraine situation where we're seeing a lot more skiff go over there with who's funding who and who's giving military help to who. But the story of the matter was we bounced around a lot this week and ended up kind of the same spot we started.
So what's really been causing that bounce? Obviously, you have uncertainty in the markets, like you said, but what's been the main, reason that this has really been kind of just a pull back to where we were at the start of the week after all that activity?
Well, I think the beans probably had the most unique situation this week. We went through the weekend last weekend talking about potential rain and seeing the rain hit the ground over the weekend. It was pretty negative as far as Argentine weather situation. You've seen wide gaps of what the estimates, what the professionals have anticipated for production in Argentina alone, some of the southern Brazil areas that were affected with drought. Question is just like getting a rain here late July, early August. What does it do for the crop? Was it planted early? Does it help it actually at all? Coming through the weekend, we felt like the rain at least slowed down the deterioration of the crop. And in midweek, though, we ended up seeing the market kind of find some support down there technically and get a bounce. A lot of that bounce was portrayed yesterday as the fact that, hey, we're seeing China come to U.S. to actually get beans, to buy beans now, and probably because we were going to end up seeing a little bit of harvest delay. So we went from extremely dry conditions in Argentina to potentially having some weather help in Brazil on the too wet side and pushing some of those sales to us. So that's probably the most intriguing trade of the week.
All right. Now, moving over to the livestock side of things, obviously when grains are fluctuating, usually livestock follows suit, but the opposite direction. What did we see there?
Well, actually, what we saw was not a lot today. I mean, the feeder cattle did, bounce around with the direction of the corn market, but live cattle had a very steady week. We saw the cash market kind of pull back a little bit, so that in essence, put some pressure on the front months of the cattle market. But all in all, we saw some gains early this week, and we know the story in cattle. We know the fact that we're going to be short cattle. We're seeing a little bit bigger kills here. We had weather issues, held some cattle back last week, and saw bigger kills here today. But the box beef number is the thing to watch right now. The retail side of the beef is not staying as strong. But yesterday we did see some help on the export side, both corn and both cattle and hogs. So we got the back mats, a little bit stronger here later in the week. On the hog side of things, the front month is just really still getting hammered here. We're going to end up closing down over $1 here today in the front months of hogs. Just cannot find support there. We actually made new lows and closed down there today. In the back months here of hogs, we're seeing a little bit of recovery, a little bit of flattening of the pattern. And we're just going to need to continue to see somebody come in here to buy this to find some support. And right now, if we're looking at the cash market, it's just not that supportive. We're hoping to see these Chinese numbers, start to get increased on what they're purchasing from us as they open up their economy over there.
Well, definitely juggling a lot of balls at one time, and hopefully one of the good ones will come down first. But we'll have to wait and see. Jacob, we thank you as always for your insight and letting us know what's been going on in the markets today.
Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
All right. And if folks want to talk market strategies with agmarket.net, how do they do that?
We encourage you, first of all, just take a look at our website, agmarket.net. Take a look at our 30-day free trial of our intel. Send out a lot of information to you. You can always find us there on the About Us. Look at the team that we have and just give us one of us a shout, and all of our emails are on there.
All right. Well, Jacob, thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Dustin. Thanks for having me.
That again was Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and run down the closing numbers. That's courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. March corn was up 0.5 at 683 even. December new crop down 2 3/4 at 587 1/4. March soybeans down 14 at 1509 1/2. November new crop down 1 1/4 at 1351 1/4. Soy meal down $2.60. That's at 459.40. Soy oil 13 cents lower at 60.82. Chicago wheat 1 3/4 lower at 758 3/4. Minneapolis up 3 1/4 at 914 1/4. Kansas wheat up a nickel at 862 1/2. Oats up 4 cents at 381 1/2. February live cattle unchanged at 156.72. January feeders up 17 cents at 179.57. Lean hogs down $1.15 at 75.87. Pork cutouts down 70 cents at 83.67. And Class 3 milk unchanged at 19.48. And that's been our ag market recap. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I sit down with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Well, the past few years have been very busy when it comes to agriculture in the state of Iowa, especially in the halls of the legislature. When it comes to ethanol, other biofuels, water quality, property taxes, it's been very, very busy, and it seems like every single bill has had some impact on agriculture. Now, this year looks like it could be a little quieter. Is that a bad thing? Well, we'll talk with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig and find out what's new as we're going into 2023. Well, we are talking with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig for our monthly chat here in January. And Secretary, how are things going for you?
Oh, very good. Always good to visit. And the year is off with a bang here as we get legislative session kicked off. And I tell you what, it's been kind of nice to see some precipitation falling across the state. It makes me optimistic that we might have a little better weather year coming up for 2023 as well.
I know that's something farmers around here are definitely sharing, that optimism. And of course, as you start a new year, you have a new member on your team. Why don't we start there? Tell us about who you got joining there.
I do, and I'm very blessed because I've got wonderful people who work with me. I'm proud to lead a very talented team at the Iowa Department of Ag and Land Stewardship, and one of those key roles is the Deputy Secretary. So we just had a new member of our staff join. Grant Menke is my new Deputy Secretary. Started at the beginning of the calendar year. And Grant's somebody well known in Iowa agriculture, spending quite a bit of time with Corn Growers Renewable Fuels Association, and had spent time as USDA Rural Development Director as well. And so comes with a great experience and well versed in all of the types of agriculture issues that we'll see at the department. So really happy to have him on our team.
And of course, you mentioned legislative sessions, underway here now in Iowa. Things are off and running. What kind of things are you really hoping for as far as an agricultural front that you want to see hopefully accomplished this year?
I think on the ag front, really in Iowa, it could be a pretty quiet year. And that's because the last couple of years have been very active. We've, over the last few years, secured long-term dedicated water quality funding. Very happy about that. And we're making good use of those dollars. Last year, significant tax reform in the state of Iowa, lowering our income tax. Ultimately, it'll be down to a 3.9% flat rate. But there's also some provisions that are very favorable for our agriculture community, for farmers, and for retirees in Iowa as well, no longer taxing retirement income in the state. So those have been very, very good things for agriculture. And then the signature ag piece of legislation last year was around biofuels and establishing the first of its kind standard for making E15 and higher blends of biodiesel available at fueling stations across the state. So it was a very, very active year last year. Really looking this year at a quieter session, perhaps some additional property tax relief that could be worked through. And then really for my priorities, I'm focused on some additional resources to support our animal industries team here as we work to improve our ability to respond to, high path avian influenza or African swine fever. And then, of course, the other signature piece that we'll be looking at is fully funding phase 2 of the Iowa State University Vet Diagnostic Lab. The governor just announced that she would be allocating $40 million from ARP funding, federal dollars. And now we've got to go secure the rest of it, the $20 million that we need to finish the project from the legislature. So livestock, I think, will be heavy on our minds, and foreign animal disease prevention and preparedness.
When you got to talk to the legislature about, this animal disease prevention, as much as you hate to have it around, I mean, having the backdrop of the avian influenza helps maybe put a sense of urgency into the legislature and help them understand that, we need to make sure that funding is there because, it's been back this fall. We're not sure. We talked earlier, is it going to be back again this spring? We just don't know. And having that diagnostic laboratory still at Iowa State, I mean, that's been a crucial piece in helping us come through this in a lot better shape than we went through it in 2015. Not saying that it was perfect, and obviously we have lost a lot of birds, but it's been relatively quiet compared to what we saw a couple of years back.
Boy, that's spot on. We've always said that a foreign animal disease, look, when you're Iowa and you've got a livestock industry that's worth tens of billions of dollars of economic impact annually, when you've got, tens of thousands of farmers and businesses that support those farmers, involved in livestock production in the state of Iowa, anything that we can do to protect that or serve that industry is critically important. That diagnostic lab helps manage herd health and care for animals correctly every day across the state of Iowa. But particularly when we're talking about a foreign animal disease, that lab becomes critically important. Unfortunately, as you said, we're dealing with high path and foreign animal diseases are always a threat, but we clearly have elevated risk right now because, yes, we're dealing with high path again, but also don't forget African swine fever is in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. It's in our backyard. And so that just reminds us that, yes, this is an ever-present threat. Unfortunately, we did just announce this week that we have had yet another positive turkey site for high path. None of us frankly expected to see new cases in January. Unfortunately, here we are. We're now at 31 cases in this last outbreak.
And, we have to give a lot of credit, as you mentioned, with African swine fever over in the Dominican Republic and things like that. I mean, we've relied heavily on USDA and border agents to do that. I mean, just coming back from Brazil, I got the second, third, and fourth degree on saying I was by farms and well, did you bring boots? How did you keep your feet clean? Did you do this and that? And it is a very extensive question and answer. And then there are beagles running around sniffing you while you're answering these questions. And so it's a very real thing, but we obviously have been stepping it up to try to prevent that as well.
We have been. And those folks, our Customs and Border Protection, deserve a ton of credit for the work that they do. APHIS and USDA for the work that they do every day. It's almost comforting, isn't it? Yes, it slows you down as you're entering the country, but I've been on lots of trade missions, and as you say, I don't mind being pulled over and asked those questions because at least I know that people are looking. And if I've been on a farm, I want to make sure that I'm going through the same protocols, and those are critically important. Of course, what we're trying to do is keep materials that can carry those viruses on them. And so in this case, we're watching for meat products that could be coming in from countries of concern that could carry ASF in particular. But here's the challenge. That's got to work every single day, every time. And that is hard work. It's just like the biosecurity that we have to see on our farms every day. The same applies to those points of entry into the country.
Now, as we're talking, it's obviously 5 degrees and the wind chills of God knows what. But, we were hoping for some of that cold temperature to maybe slow down, the bird flu and the HPAI. It's been a relatively mild winter up until this point. I mean, are we thinking that we're going to see some of those slowdowns? What do you think we're going to see? I mean, obviously, if we knew this, we'd be in a different tax bracket. But I mean, are we hoping that that's going to be the case if we have these cold snaps?
It is, we're learning a lot and we're continuing to figure out what's happening here. So by and large, of course, we know that the virus is being carried by wild birds. We also know that many of those birds are migrating. And so it's very logical that when they move north, they're carrying it with them. In 2015, they got over it over the summer. And when they came south, that we didn't see the reoccurrence. This year, unfortunately, this virus is clearly different. It's acting differently. It has survived in that population. It is surprising, I have to say. I didn't anticipate that we'd be seeing this kind of activity again in the winter months. I suspect it's got to do with resident geese and migratory birds that, in fact, didn't migrate. They stayed and they found open water. Of course, weather can continue to drive those birds south. But I think there's the bigger issue of how are they still distributing that virus, and what can we do to further enhance our biosecurity to keep those birds out? Because one thing we know for sure is they're all going to turn around and come back. And this spring, we need to be on heightened alert again. So, I don't know all the answers to this, but there's a lot of questions that are being researched. And for us, the last positive in Iowa was December 11th, 12th in there. And then we've just had another reoccurrence. So we'd had a break. We thought we might be through the woods. Clearly we're not.
All right. Well, as we get ready to wrap up here for the month of January, what other things do farmers need to be cognizant of here as we go into that last partial week of January and already start entering February?
Yeah, again, we're all full speed ahead on spring, right? It sounds crazy to say that, but I'm thinking a lot about, and we're continuing to see a lot of workforce challenges, folks making, do we have the people that we need to go to the field to get all the work done this spring? And of course, I think supply chain disruptions and longer lead times will continue to be the great challenge for us. But, I remain optimistic this year. We've got high input prices and some of those challenges and impact of inflation and higher interest rates and all those things. But demand for the things that we produce continues to be strong, and prices hanging in there accordingly. So those things are essential. I worry that we're at some point have a cliff that we'll fall off of, but folks really need to be thinking ahead and managing risk. And the other thing that we're really thinking a lot about, and now's the time to really get ramped up on this, is we're going to be writing a farm bill this year. We won't, the Congress will, but we'll be weighing in on that. And so folks really should be paying attention and watching for those things to hit the news now of farm bill hearings. And it's critically important that we get one done this year, and that Iowa's interests are well represented.
Well, we won't be long, and we'll be having our February monthly chat, and I think that'll be a good place for us to start as to what kind of things Iowa wants to see in that farm bill. And we appreciate your time, as always, Secretary, for kind of giving us an update of what things are going on.
I look forward to that. It'll be a good set of topics to talk about. And to you, welcome home. I'm glad you had a good trip down south.
And again was Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. Let's go ahead and take a look at that weather outlook. Well, we definitely had some snow and a little bit of precipitation falling in Des Moines and around the state. Of course, you can check local listings to see how bad it really got. But more snow is going to stay with us here for the next 24 hours. How bad is it going to get and where? Well, let's see what the National Weather Service has to say. Well, as I mentioned just before, we did see some snow showers to start the day here in Des Moines and across the state. Those showers are going to start to taper off just a little bit, but don't you worry. They'll be back again later on today and into tonight, where we're going to see winter storm warnings already starting tonight in the northwest and winter weather advisories in the northeast. We're going to see those temperatures fall from that 33 to 40 we saw during the day, and we're going to see them dip way down to the upper single digits to as high as 26. and that'll still see some of that snow falling heavier in the north. And tomorrow, temps will continue to fall throughout the day, and snow will continue. And again, it could still be heavy up to the north, where we're going to see highs anywhere from the mid-teens to the low 30s. Taking a look at the affiliate weather map, we see for tomorrow, Cherokee will be snowy in that winter storm warning and a high of 14. Shenandoah snowy and 31. Des Moines, chance of snow 22. Waterloo 14 with a chance of snow and a winter weather advisory. Albia could see a mix of rain and snow and a high of 29. And Clinton snow and a high of 25 degrees. For more detailed forecasts in your area, tune to your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliates. And that's been your Ag Weather Outlook. And with that, we're at the end of today's show. Don't forget, you can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can be notified every time we put out a new video product. Also, don't forget about our free twice daily market podcast through Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IRN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.